Welcome back to District, the final leg here of Bud Light Hog Talk. I'm Mike Peck, and our final guest tonight, the first recycled interview of the year, Jimmy Hayes, forward for your Rockford IceHogs. Jimmy, thanks for hopping back on here.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, a big honor, huh? First guy to repeat. Don't worry, next week we got Mo and Lavin on here, so.
First one history, though?
Yeah, first of the year. I'm going to mark that down. It'll probably be a game note, Friday's game.
Perfect.
So what's going on? Things are rolling along for you here. I mean, it's funny how you look at the ebbs and flows of the season. You obviously had a little bit of a down December. You were working and working and working. I mean, snake bit pipes, great saves by the goalie, whatever it might be, and then all of a sudden, boom, the goals start coming again.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think a lot of pros go through it. Every guy goes through it during their career, and it's it's rough, but you got to make sure you're able to get through it, and luckily the puck started falling for me, and they're continuing to fall. Now,
I'm sure you've gone through stretches throughout your career before, whether it was at BC or wherever before, but you hear that maybe as a kid growing up or as a fan you're watching the game, you're like, well, how can a guy of a son just, go through, a stretch where he's snake bit like that? You go through it as a player, how hard is it to get through that stretch? And what do you try to do to try to snap out of it?
Well, it's really hard for you mentally because you keep questioning yourself and your ability. But I think you just got to kind of stick with your guns and continue to do what got you there. I mean, I didn't try to change up anything drastically because I've gone through it before, and you kind of bother your mind a little bit by keep switching things. And I think if you can mentally get through it and then eventually play the game the right way, things will fall your way for you.
I mean, that's the thing. And, you look at a guy like Darren Hadar for the Chicago Wolves. He didn't score his first goal of the season until it was like December 10th. And it was in Rockford. And Slavko was down actually filming in the tunnel. And actually had a great view of him scoring. He said he just had this huge look of relief over his face. And you look at a guy like that who is one of the most prolific point scorers in the American Hockey League history in 75 years of the American Hockey League. And he didn't score his first goal till December. So there's nobody that's not prone to a little bit of a slump, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys can go through it. I think you have goal scorers go through all the time, and I remember that relief when I scored my first goal. I think it was Cy and Popper gave me a hard time because I was so excited in front of the net with my celebration. But it is a relief, and it's just something that, every player I think is going to experience it, and you just kind of got to find a way to get out of it.
Let's talk a little about goal celebrations here. Where do you channel your goal celebration from?
I don't know. It's just kind of excitement, part of the game. I used to do it a lot in high school and a little bit in college, but kind of got to tone it down on the pro level.
What was the craziest celebration you ever did?
There's one on YouTube. I did the John Wall celebration when that finally hit the internet there. He did his John Wall came up with this thing, and one of my buddies wanted me to do it, so I ended up doing it.
So that had been BC then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get a lot of crap in the room for that?
Yeah. I think the coach looked at me and just said, don't ever let that happen again.
Well, it's Coach York, right?
Yeah.
And he's probably a little old school, right?
Yeah, he's old school.
Yeah, so he doesn't like the probably the excessive celebration.
Yeah, he was not a fan of it.
How about that guy, Coach York, Jerry York, the head coach at Boston College? Now, is he the coach with the shoes that has the special shoes that he wears on game day, or is that the Boston University coach?
I think it might be York. He wears the same, they're black sneakers.
And he's worn them for years and years and years, right?
Yeah, I think it's the same pair every year, so I think it might be him.
It's funny because you think of players being superstitious. You don't necessarily think of coaches being superstitious.
Yeah, I think when he's been so successful, he probably doesn't want to change up much to what he does, so I can see why if you have a really successful program, you might be superstitious, but other than that, people want to switch up things. Like I said, during a slump, I was in one, so you kind of try to get away from it. But I think everyone has their superstitions and kind of do what they do to get them there anyways.
Well, the accent the Boston Red Sox had is a dead giveaway, but you're from suburban Boston. They're Dorchester, right?
Yep.
And now, when the time came to choose where you were going to school, I'm sure you were recruited by just about everyone. Was it Boston schools that you were leaning to, or what was the recruiting outlook?
Yeah, when I narrowed it down to the last 4 schools, there was 3 Boston schools and then University of New Hampshire. I just liked the way they played, and it fit my style of game. And it was basically New Hampshire, Boston College, Boston University, or Harvard. But I think once I went to BC, I kind of just fell in love with it and kind of ran with it from there.
Yeah, how hard is that? I mean, I remember when I was in high school thinking, man, all these guys getting recruited. It'd be kind of cool to be wanted by all these schools, and it probably is for like the first month. But then did it get borderline annoying, and how much did the pressure kind of mount as you were going through? Because you played, did you play juniors? You played juniors, right? Before
I played high school hockey, then I went to the national
program.
Team,
That's considered juniors, all right?
Yeah.
Because you play kind of USHL in Michigan, in Ann Arbor there, right? So, but how much pressure was mounting there when it was getting down to make that decision on which school you were going to go to?
Yeah, I mean, it became very overwhelming, especially with schools just in the East. And then when I went to Ann Arbor, my junior year of high school, my dad wanted me to commit to a college before my junior year of high school, so I didn't have to experience that whole process with schools out west without him being there. So I committed to Boston College. I believe it was my sophomore year of high school, and it just kind of, like I said, it wasn't really annoying because it's always nice to feel wanted, but it became overwhelming with decision making and stuff. So.
Now, is that just a verbal commitment as a sophomore? You can't actually sign, though, right?
You can't sign your letter of intent. It's a verbal commitment, and you hear about it in football, basketball.
Yeah, it's like that in every sport. Now, I don't expect you to call anyone out, but did anybody try to sway you from a different school because knowing that you hadn't signed anything officially, even though you had given your verbal?
No, I think I was pretty set on going there. BC's a pretty elite program, so it's kind of hard for someone else to persuade you to go there, to go away from it. So I think once I was committed there, I was kind of left alone.
You know, the interesting thing about hockey is you look at the development program, and also it's kind of like this in juniors, and I guess specifically in this case we can use the USHL as an example. You know, you go to the U.S. development program in Ann Arbor, and you're playing with a group of guys where the majority of them are probably going on to play college hockey somewhere, right?
Yeah,
so,
I think we had almost every guy in our team at least try to play college hockey. If it didn't work out for them, they may have gone major junior, but other than that, I think every guy there was going to play college.
So it's an interesting dynamic, and it happens in juniors and in college as well, where you get guys that get drafted. So you're on a team with a guy knowing, okay, well, next year you're going to BU, you're going to Northeastern, you're going to New Hampshire, you're going to Vermont, you're going to Maine. All these guys are going to be opponents next year. So it's just kind of interesting. College is the same thing, especially at a school like BC, where half the team is drafted into the National Hockey League, so you know you're going to be playing against a lot of your buddies. It's just kind of funny how that works. And it's maybe, well, it's not like that in any other sport, because football, you get drafted and you have to go and play in the NFL, and baseball is kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it a lot of fun, especially this year. I left school early. It was just myself and Cam Atkinson were the only two from my grade that left early. So it was pretty cool that finally this year my classmates were graduated and play against them. But a lot of them play in the Eastern Conference, but one of them plays for Lake Erie, Paul Carey. So it's,
good player too. You guys pop up everywhere. BC guys just, it's like, you know what's funny? You could tell the teams that have won national championships because 3-4 years ago, it was like that was with Wisconsin guys. You know, Joe Pisculas of the world, you know, like that. Those guys were, you know, Brad Winchester, you know, we saw two of those guys over the weekend. Now it's BC guys. It's been like that for the last 4 or 5 years. Every team seems like they have a BC guy on the team.
Yeah, I think BC is actually leading the NHL right now with players in the NHL. They're alumni, so it's pretty cool.
Now, Ben Smith, also a BC alumnus, he's mentioned this, that, okay, now a couple years removed, so you still follow, but your brother is still playing for the Eagles, so you probably still follow them a little bit more closely than maybe if you didn't have that direct tie, right?
Yeah, I get a lot of hard time from the guys because they say that's all I talk about, but I don't know. Proud alumni, I guess. So.
Yeah, so hey, you got family there. You got to support the family too, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure Clendetting's one of the guys.
Well,
that's BU, and
he's a different story.
Yeah, so, you know, Jimmy Hayes is our guest here. This is Bud Light Hog Talk. We're out here at District Bar and Grill. We're out here every Monday from here until the end of the regular season. You can check out the show live and in person from 6 to 7 p.m. And, you know, going back to the depth of this hockey team, we talked about it with Ben Simon a little bit. 6 guys that have 14 goals or more. And I would have to look back to see over the last couple of years how many guys scored 15 goals or more in the year. It can't be more than 6 or 7. So right now there's a very good distribution of offense on this team. It's going to be a lot of fun right now, you know, playing with the deep lineup like this.
Yeah, I mean, the depth has been unbelievable lately, and you can tell by the way we're starting to win a lot of games here. We've had a lot of changes to our team and help our team win here, and I think the scoring depth is one of those things. I mean, you look around other teams' rosters, and they have maybe one or two, maybe three guys that have that many goals, and we've got six, and we'll continue to get guys to score goals. It's kind of unheard of. You might have 6 guys to score 20 goals in one season on a team, which would be pretty impressive for a team to do.
Now, I know from reading some stuff, specifically from Coach Quinville, how he liked how you played in front of the net. Not an easy thing to do, and it's not easy to go out there every shift and do it, on the power play and do it. And I've noticed as the season has gone on here, you've been playing center, so I know the role sometimes is a little bit different, and you probably can't always get there. But talk about playing in front of the net, and I guess the grit and determination it takes to stand in front of your teammates shooting pucks at the net, trying to screen the goalie, trying to get the rebounds, trying to tip pucks, and do something like that, and know that is could be one of those aspects of your game that gets you to the next level. Yeah,
and that's one of the things I had to look at myself when I was going through that scoring drought, trying to figure out what's going wrong here. I've been scoring goals at every level, and now I'm gone over a month here without a goal, maybe even longer than that. So I figured out when I was talking to my dad and the coaches, they said you got to go to those hard areas, and started getting there, and then they started falling. So I think it's kind of a trend there. You want to score goals, you got to get to the net, and I've kind of taken pride in it, and it's just something you got to do as a big guy. So you got to use that big body and use yourself and use your scoring touch and ability to stay around that net and try to score some goals.
Had you played much center before this year at any level of hockey?
No, I never played center.
So you got to look at reasons as well why things happen. You got put in at the center position probably around Thanksgiving. Right? It was about the time we went to Lake Erie, maybe around, maybe the week before. And right after that is when things started to shift for you a little bit. And again, you're probably going to say, well, that's just an excuse. But when you're learning a new position, and people might not think, okay, well, big deal. You're now playing center. You're not playing on the wing. It's a fundamental shift right there in position and responsibility on the ice. Talk about the differences of playing center compared to playing wing.
I just think there's a lot more skating and a lot more responsibility playing center in certain systems. In our system, we try to share the workload defensively, which is like the hardest part of learning a new position, especially going from wing to center, is defensively. But our system allows everyone to share their workload, and whoever's the first guy back is going to be the low guy. So it was just something new to learn, and offensively, it wasn't much of a change because you're going to do what you have to do in the offensive zone. But you just learn as you go, and you learn how to find lanes and open up and continue to keep your speed. You don't want to use it as an excuse, but you just got to continue to keep playing the position as well as you can and try to keep finding the net.
The thing is, though, if a guy like Jimmy Hayes is going to learn a different position, you're going to learn it at Rockford in the American Hockey League. They're not going to do that to you up in Chicago more than likely, unless there's injuries and there's extreme situations. So I guess looking at it big picture, okay, so maybe someone says, well, you took a half step back because the production, slowed down a little bit. I would argue you actually took steps forward because you've expanded your role, and that is also something that is going to benefit you down the line. And I say down the line, I'm talking right now. I mean, you flash forward just a couple of months, your game has changed, and it's more probably appealing than what it was in October. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, you can agree with that. If you're able to play two positions and you're able to do it at the highest level, I think that's just going to help your value to a team. And that's one thing I think Chicago wanted to do with me. They wanted me to learn how to play a new position, and I kind of taken it and trying to just run with it. It's been fun, and it's continuing to work out here and offensively. But that's what you got to do. You can't just look at it statistically because there's a lot more that goes into it. But it's just luckily I'm starting to score some goals here.
Yeah, I guess the perfect example is to say, like, okay, a guy learning to play the penalty kill, because you can literally see the difference between 5-on-5 or 4-on-4 compared to being out there shorthanded. And guys learn how to do that at this level. because maybe, it's a faster game or whatever it might be. You don't think about just a shift to center, or playing on the off wing, for example, is another one, right?
Yeah, I think it's different for everyone. You grow up playing one spot, and that one spot might get you to the highest level. Then you might have a little bit of a curve. I think it's even the guys that play defense, if you're a left shot playing the left side, I've asked them what's so hard about playing the right side. As a forward, they're like, oh, it's just defense, but it's just the way your stick's presented, the way your body's turned. It's a little different. You got to center. I think you have to develop a lot more skills. You have to develop catching passes on both your forehand and backhand.
Sure.
I mean, you do that as a winger, but as a right shot playing the right side, you're going to catch a lot of things on your forehand. So you have to be able to do that as a center. You got to be able to distribute to both sides. But it's a learning process, and still learning. And still a lot of things like face-offs you got to continue to develop. And I mean, it's been fun.
Last one for you, and I've been meaning to ask this question for probably the last year to someone on the team. You do the umbrella drill in pregame warm-ups, right? Yep. Guy passes the puck, gathers the pucks. How do you choose that guy? Who's the guy that brings all the pucks together, pushes them in the corner, and distributes the puck? I know Brandon Perry did it for a long time. I think Beach has been doing it lately.
Well,
right?
Perry does it for a certain amount of time, and then Beach comes down and passes it. But I don't know. I don't really want to pass the pucks or stand in front of that.
I've always wondered how that guy, like who does it. And I don't want to be that guy because gathering the pucks and guys are firing pucks in the net there.
Yeah, I think Pierce complains about it sometimes, but hey, just don't stand there. Then that's what I tell him. So.
Well, 3 games this weekend. It's going to be one of those weekends where you got to dig deep on Sunday, but 3 big games against teams directly in front of you in the playoffs, in the playoff picture. Yeah,
it's going to be huge for us, and we got to continue to win here, and we've been doing that lately and put ourselves in a great spot, like Cy said. And a couple of weeks ago, we were kind of looking at, wow, we're out of this race, but right now we're right in it, and we continue to win. We can put ourselves in that playoff spot.
Well, Jimmy, as always, I appreciate you hopping on. Great job.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that's Jimmy Hayes, forward for your Rockford IceHogs.